I've been trying to think of like an introduction to this video or something to like pull everyone in, but I don't have one. I did just start drinking LaCroix though, and I'm pretty sure that everyone's just pretending to like this stuff. I don't know, leave a comment below if you actually claim to like LaCroix, because I don't believe anyone actually likes this stuff. It's just disappointment soda. Anyway, let's get straight into the video. It's been a really long time since we've made anything like this, so we've got a lot of stuff to catch up on. So let's go, let's do it. So where we last left off, it was October 2020. I was quarantining in a hotel in Miami, Florida, and I was about to fly to Singapore to join one of the first cruise ships to ever return to service after the COVID-19 pandemic. As soon as myself and a bunch of other crew members landed in Singapore, we got rushed through immigration and put onto a private transport bus that took us directly to the ship. Once we got to the ship, before we were even allowed on board, we needed to do an antibody blood test in the terminal, as well as another PCR test to make sure we hadn't have picked up the virus during the flight. After a bunch of paperwork and the testing was completed and all that stuff, we were finally allowed on the ship, and I started my second 2 weeks of quarantine. And guys, remember, I had just completed another 2 weeks of quarantine in Miami. So in order to get this contract and to be eligible for the job in the first place, I had to go through a full month of quarantine by myself in a hotel room or on the ship just to be able to start working. And it totally makes a lot of sense why we did all that, but like, that's a lot of quarantine. So anyway, everything said and done, we completed the month of quarantine. Myself and my lovely girlfriend, Cass, we got to move into our cabin together and actually start working. And that right there, my friends, is exactly when everything started going crazy. Not only did we have to completely reconfigure this cruise ship to be COVID compliant in less than a month, we had to be the first people to do that in Royal Caribbean's fleet. So there was no playbook, there were no rules or operating procedures. We were just given a direction from the office in Miami and guidance from the local Singapore authorities to just make this happen in less than a month. And it was a crazy operation. I mean, I'm a technician in the entertainment department, right? So I work with the other technicians and the other members of the technical team to ensure that all of the shows and entertainment on the ship go off without a hitch. Now, because of the pandemic, Singapore requires all performers on the stage to be at least 3 meters away from any audience members that are watching the show. Which means that anytime a cast member was supposed to previously go out into the audience or interact with the crowd or anything like that, all of that had to be gotten rid of, completely cut from the show. There were a lot of varying rules around when the performers had to wear masks on stage and when they could take off their masks on stage and all that stuff. But imagine being a dancer on stage, pushing your body to the extreme physical limits of what it's actually able to do, and then needing to put on a mask for like 50% of your performance. That is not easy, and it's incredible what they're able to do on stage. I have the utmost respect for the dancers in both of the casts on board. It's incredible. We also had to completely reconfigure the theater to accommodate for social distancing. We got rid of the first 3 front rows of seating. There were different zones around the theater that we sat people in to keep them distanced from each other. Over that month, we had to reprogram large portions of the show to accommodate the changes we made. And all of this was going on before a single guest even set foot on the ship. So all in all, from the beginning of quarantine to the first guest getting on board, it took about 2 months for everything to get ramped up and running. Now, once the guests actually did get on the ship, there were a lot of changes to a regular cruising experience, obviously. Now, I'm not gonna cover every single rule and regulation that we had to follow while we were on board, but it's important to remember that all of these regulations were very specific to Singapore. Since we were only cruising out of Singapore with Singaporean guests on board, we had to follow all of the regulations set out by the Singaporean government. But that means it's extremely likely that once all these cruise ships start restarting in the United States over the course of June and July, a lot of the regulations aren't gonna be the same. So take it with a grain of salt. It's not gonna be the same as Singapore. They had very specific regulations that worked in their country, but that doesn't mean anything for the rest of the fleet. Does that make sense? It's kind of a long disclaimer, but it's important, okay? Nobody at this point was vaccinated, so we needed to make sure that everyone getting on the ship didn't have the virus. So first things first, we tested every single guest that got on the ship, every single crew member that got on the ship. The guests didn't have to do quarantine because they weren't staying for as long. The crew members, every single person had to go through 1 month of quarantine. Next one, pretty self-explanatory. Wear your mask outside of your room, pretty much. If you're not in your room, wear your mask. Obviously, if you're eating or drinking or in a pool or a hot tub or something like that, you don't need to wear a mask because that would be kind of pointless. But aside from that, everywhere that's not your stateroom, put on your mask. It just, you know. Number 3, we've all heard it before, social distancing. What's interesting about Singapore is that because they kept their case counts so low throughout the pandemic, they reduced their social distancing distance from 2 meters to 1 meter. So everybody only had to stay 3 feet apart, which was actually a lot easier for us doing our job. You know, there's a lot of closed confined spaces and stuff like that sometimes backstage, and the 1 meter distancing made that a lot easier. Now, Singapore and Royal Caribbean also have these little tokens that they use for contact tracing. They're basically just little Bluetooth chips that talk to other tokens, and if you stay next to each other for more than like 15 minutes or so, it just registers that you were near that person. So there's 2 trackers, one for Royal Caribbean, one for Singapore. Both of them you have to keep on your person at all times when you're outside of your cabin. Unless you're going in the pool. They're not waterproof, so just leave them at your chair, I guess. And I ran out of time filming this yesterday, so we're gonna finish filming today. The lights and the angle might be slightly different. Oh my goodness, continuity. So yeah, all in all, most of the actual regulations and stuff put in place by Singapore didn't directly affect my work that much. However, there was an issue that above all the rest really made my contract significantly harder than any other time I'd previously spent on a ship. It actually started out pretty insignificant, but it just kind of grew as the contract progressed and became more and more of a problem and started to really affect my mental health and my ability to motivate myself and focus on a daily basis. You know, I love traveling. That is one of the main reasons I got involved with cruise ships in the first place. The feeling of being able to do a job that you love and wake up in a new part of the world every single day and experience all the food and people and culture that there is to offer from all these different amazing places in the world. You can't beat that feeling. It's incredible. But when you take all of that away, when you're still working on the same shows with the same people week after week, and you don't have the opportunity to get off the ship and recharge your batteries and get away from your workplace, it really starts to take a toll on you. And don't get me wrong, the reasons that we had for staying on the ship were completely justified. It was necessary as part of the COVID protocols and all that stuff that we not get off the ship, because if one of us picked up the virus in Singapore and then brought it on board, that would be an absolute nightmare. And seriously, I absolutely plan to go back and work on cruise ships at some point in the future. And honestly, if it was only like 2 or 3 months, I would totally take another contract on one of these ships that's restarting and do exactly what I did on Quantum to one of those ships, you know? But for a longer contract that's like 5 or 6 months long, if I'm not able to get off the ship, that's a really hard sell for me. I personally need that time off the ship to break up that weekly grind and just add some variety to my schedule. And I don't want to sound ungrateful or dramatic or anything like that. Most of my time on the ship was awesome. It was great to see Cass. It was great to be able to get back to doing work and entertainment and putting on shows for people. It was an incredible experience, and I'm absolutely glad that I had it. But at the end of the day, I got to look out for myself and my mental health. And towards the end of the contract, it was getting really difficult for me to do that. So yeah, I'm home. I'm back in Alaska. My contract on the ship ended in early April, and I flew home, and life is good. It feels really good to be off the ship and finally getting that much needed time off. My lovely girlfriend and I, Cassandra, are still together, although unfortunately she had to fly back to Malaysia, and they're still in like a full lockdown and all that stuff. So nobody's allowed in or out of the country for the foreseeable future. So I'm confident we'll get to see each other again soon, but unfortunately I have no way to go see her now. As far as YouTube, the future of this channel is concerned, I'm gonna keep making videos. This channel has really always been just about me documenting my life and my experiences and putting my thoughts out into the world for you guys to see, I guess. Obviously, since I'm not on a cruise ship right now, I won't be making a ton of cruise ship related content until I get back onto another one. So I have no idea when that's gonna be, but until then, I'm just gonna keep making videos that I'm proud of and that I enjoy and that I hope you guys enjoy too. And that's pretty much the end of the video. Thanks for watching all of it. I have no idea how long this video is gonna be, so maybe it was a long time, maybe it wasn't. Who knows? I've got a Discord server. You can come hang out on Discord and chat with me, play video games. I don't know. Could follow me on Instagram. Sometimes I post things on Snapchat and Twitter. Definitely follow me on Twitter. Yeah, I tweet things out sometimes. I don't know. Just rambling. Nobody watches this part of the video anyways. So thank you for the 2 of you that decided to stick around. All right, love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, peace out.